Hello and welcome to the URL Hot Lap presented by Kingsport Tire and Auto Care Center. I'm Al Smith. Alongside me tonight is the driver of the Arts Barbershop, VTFantasyRacing.com, number 18 of AJ Hamill. And to my right, the Kingsport Tire and Auto Center, car number 22 of Mike Holtzclaw. How you doing tonight, guys?
Doing good.
Doing good. Trying to get over this cold.
Well, it is that time of season, and as we just got done with the Kingsport Tire and Auto Center 125 at the new Smyrna Speedway as we head into an dark week for the URL. But guys, it was quite the interesting race down there at New Smyrna as we ran 125 laps. Our first race this season that was over 100 laps long. Hamill, talk about your race and some key points. We had Justin Fuller that jumped out to had the pole and once again led the last 225 laps of competition. But there was a lot of action going on behind him.
Indeed, there was. My race, not much to talk about. Started okay. Bad qualifying, as always, on the driver. Nothing, no surprise there. Started 11th. Surprised myself. Not usually the best at New Smyrna, more of a placeholder. But I guess we figured something out. Was trying to make a pass on the outside on the first restart for 7th. And just wrong place at the wrong time. A couple cars behind me. Got dominoed one into the other and the other one into me. And for the second week in a row, I'm facing the inside wall. And after that, just kind of puttered around the back, try to make up a few spots.
Yeah, and you're able to gain some positions based on that, which is good because I remember last season. I think if that would have happened, we would have seen the 18 hauler down the road before the halfway point of the race.
It went through my head, but I had the calming tones of Mr. Justin McDuff, teammate on the radio, tell me to stick it out, and so we did and gained probably 4 extra points. Maybe that'll matter later.
And Mike, you didn't have much of a good night once again, unfortunately, as you guys had to pull the car behind the wall. But you were running up inside the top 15 for most of the race until it got rough there a little bit before halfway.
Yeah, it was our usual qualifying. Mid pack toward the back somewhere along in there, and we were actually making our way up through the field pretty good. I think I made it up as high as 11th. Got caught on the inside on the restart and fell back and got turned. I felt that I left plenty enough room, but got tagged in the left rear and turned around and went to the back. And after that, just got caught up in someone else's mishap and hit the inside wall, and it blew the motor.
Yeah, it was a rough going there. We ran the first 50 some odd laps without a caution. Yeah, and it kind
25.
Was it 25? I thought it was
Yeah.
wrong, yeah, but still, it was a good. It
was
all
a good
becomes
run.
a blur. But yeah, it was Justin Fuller that jumped out to the early race lead, but he was really challenged by Dale O'Neill in those early stages of the race before the first and second caution. Dale was really there. Nicholas Rasmussen, Stefan Marinak, they were all up there. Really, Fuller wasn't able to get away. I don't know how much of that was saving tires, as this was our second race this season that we had no tires in the pits. Mike, going from a standpoint where you guys, if you have a bad qualifying result, how much does that weigh in your mind with not having the tires to be able to play strategy? Does that change how you drive a little bit?
Not really. I've never been good at qualifying. I'm always used to starting back toward the back. Tires or no tires, I mean, I really drive the same. It probably hurts me on the no tire tracks, but that's just something I've got to work on.
And Hamill, you guys didn't quite get the qualifying run that you wanted, as you alluded to earlier, but you had worked yourself up and were racing well inside the top 10 before your misfortune there. Um, you seem to be better on the long runs and saving your tires. Do you think you would have had something? And what's your feelings on the tires or versus not having tires in these first few events?
I don't think I had much more than I probably could have held my spot in front of CJ maybe if all works out or who knows if I could have got around Justin. But uh, it's interesting. If you look at the results of last week's race, the top four started in the top five, but those are really good drivers. So this is not a surprise to see them finish in the top five. Tires are no tires. I could see. I know some guys they want them. They want to play some strategy. I I get it. And in 2 weeks we're going to play that at USA. And yeah, it's working to Fuller's advantage. He's taking the pole and taking his time, and he's leading a whole lot of laps. But we'll see. I think at some point, Marinac, O'Neill, Rasmussen, Lever, somebody is going to get up there and get around. Maybe Odo. We didn't hear from him because he actually had the worst qualifying effort of all of us, which I think was a surprise to a lot of people.
Yeah, Odo definitely did not have a good night, and it got worse on the start when somebody checked up and damaged his motor, and the Ghost finally went out just about 17 laps into the event, somewhere around there, and he disconnected and had his first DNF of the season. Was the points leader headed in, but yeah, I think it's interesting because there was definitely some movers that didn't quite get the qualifying run. They got to the top five. I'm looking, CJ Lever, who started 12th, he ended up fifth. We have our rookie competitor, the Nine Shiza Auto Sport Club Rookie of the Year contender, Guillaume Fortin, who started 15th and ended up sixth. So there are some guys that are able to make some moves. I know that the yellows and some uh, attrition helps with that, but I think you really see who can manage their tires and who is able to push it or not push it.
Yeah, and you got to remember the reason that the admin team weighed the decision. For those wondering, was there just some tracks like New Smyrna where it's really hard for more than a few guys to get four tires at one time, and it was just more to level the playing field from a standpoint of being able to get your tires without losing all your track position, of having to pit for right sides, having to pit for left sides, or waiting for the field to pit so you can move up so you can pit the next lap. Those are all options, and I know the admin team discussed, and so did the drivers' council, and we've discussed that earlier on earlier shows. And this was the decision at some tracks. But if you're down about it, don't be down about it. Remember, when we get to the chase, there's going to be tires, there's going to be strategy. Um, and it's working okay, I think, at this particular race. Four yellows at New Smyrna, not much to be upset about.
No, I think people are giving and taking, and I know Mike, had run from towards the back of the field, up inside the top 15, almost knocking on the door for the top 10. Is the racing different that you notice with the no tires compared to when we have tires in the pits?
I really don't think it is. It may be different up front, but from that middle pack on back, I think they're flat out, regardless if they got 100 tires or no tires in the pits. It's that thing's just wide open.
That's
Yeah,
like I said, everybody's going for everything they can get. The races are short. It's hard to pass. It's hard not to try to get around somebody, even if you're going to burn them up a little.
yeah. So I mean, and like you alluded to, Hamill, and you guys are both on the drivers' council, and I'm on the admin team. It was a long discussion this off season on what tracks, or even if we would not play the no tire game this year. Um, at Lucas Oil, I was really hoping that it would tame some things, and it kind of backfired on us. And then we go to a New Smyrna for the Kingsport Tire and Auto Center 125, and we have a fairly good race. We had a little rough patch around the halfway point. I think people were maybe starting to get a little antsy trying to get spots or whatnot. But then after that, we ran, the last leg of the race all under green, and it was a pretty good race, I thought. So yeah, like you said, looking forward, we have USA coming up in 2 weeks, as this week is a dark week. Allow the teams to make some repairs and get all set up for USA. But I think it's worked out pretty good, and obviously we'll have another take on it as our fourth race of the season will allow 4 tires in the pits. This past week was lone qualifying. We were supposed to run a B main, but we only had 27 teams make it down to New Smyrna. So with the long tow, we allowed everybody to start. And next week, when we go racing on November 2nd, we will do the live qualifying. How does that working out for everybody? Do you enjoy watching? Do you get to learn some things before you guys go out to qualify or whatnot by watching the cars before you go?
No, I sit there and get all nervous, and then I watch my qualifying run.
That's the same here. It's. I get butterflies just waiting to go out there and qualify. My hands start sweating regardless.
But I like that. I'm just not good at it yet.
I think it adds just that another little element, and at USA should we make it a good time. I definitely like it. Last week was a little bit quicker, and we were able to get a little bit more practice time when the session went from afternoon to late afternoon. To add that little sense of realism and whatnot. So, but the change in the session with the time of day, did that really throw you guys for a curve, or was it something that you guys kind of welcomed with open arms?
I think it was a good decision from a racing standpoint. It was going to get slick. It was going to get really dicey out there with the afternoon. That's kind of cool. You throw a little realism. You start a real race might start in the mid afternoon. By the time you throw the green on the A main, you're working in the twilight.
Yeah, I like that. I wouldn't mind doing that for every race. I kind of like how it's more realistic that way.
It was definitely added a little curve. I felt like the track tightened up a little bit, moving. It only dropped a few degrees on temperature, but as we look at the results from this past week, it was Justin Fuller who started on the pole and led every lap, 125, to his second straight victory. He's one of those guys I think that we're going to have to watch out for as he looks for his fourth championship in the Upstate Racing League. Stefan Marinak continuing his strong season with a second place finish, followed by Dale O'Neill, Nicholas Rasmussen, and CJ Levere rounding out your top 5. Rookie of the Year competitor Guillaume Fortin would finish 6th, followed by Al Smith Jr., Brian Rogers, J.D. Callahan, and A.J. Bunch rounding out the top 10. So a pretty stout top 10, and as we look through the rest of the field, Hamill, we had Paul Fugate in 11th, Justin McDuff 12th, Jason Stenney, Cal Frenier, and Eric Spencer rounding out the top 15. Dylan Gaudet, AJ Hamill, Travis Wallace, Jim McIntyre, Alex Orions rounding out the 20 finishers, top 20 finishers. Jay Dubuque, Mike Holtzclaw, Brandon Odo, Dan Dubuque, John Ada, Eric Hag, and Charlie Ryan rounding out the 27 car field. Mike Fortier and Philip Thompson taking provisionals. It was a pretty good race. Mike, you had some issues, but in Hamill, you had some issues as well. But overall, I was really pleased with the racing. I thought the racing was intense. I went back and watched it on the broadcast. There was a lot of battles all over that racetrack, and it was interesting to see when the leaders got into lap traffic, how that really played into the hands of some drivers that were not Justin Fuller, because Justin gave up a lot of time on lap traffic.
You did. You look at the results, but you can pretty much separate who had a lot of problems with who didn't right there between Bunch and Fugate in 10th and 11th. Everybody from Paul on back ran into a problem at some point in the event, and I guess that shows in the results.
Yeah, but as we move forward, we take a look at the Tents of Champlain point standings. It is Stefan Marinak who has a 5-point margin over Justin Fuller. So Stefan, uh, kind of one of those drivers that showed promise last year, Mike, and now this year comes in, scores his first win of the season at Iowa, and then has scored 3 top 10s. I think he's looking pretty good so far this season.
Yeah, I think he's looking real good this season. That top five group there in the points. That's I think they're going to kind of start separating themselves from the rest of the field. They're hot shoes from the get go.
As we look at the point standings, we got Marinac, who has a 5 point lead over Fuller. Rasmussen is sitting third, the driver from across the pond. He's a good story. We'll get him on the show here later this year and talk to him about his crazy schedule of racing with us on Thursday nights. He's sitting in third. Dale O'Neill and Guillaume Fort, and a rookie rounding out the top five. He's 18 markers behind Stefan Marinac. Another rookie in the top 12 in points is Jason Stenney, followed by Brandon Odo, Brian Rogers Jr., AJ Hamill, L. Smith Jr., CJ Levere, and Dylan Gaudette, rounding out the top 12. And guys, I don't know about you, but I have a few surprises inside the top 12 for right now after the first three races. And one of those is Brian Rogers Jr. The last two seasons, he's kind of had some issues, but this year he seems to come out of the gate really strong. He's got two top fives and two top 10, or one top five and two top tens this season. So I think he's been one of the biggest surprises for me this season.
And I think you mean that in a nice way. I don't know how that came out, but Brian's always a tough competitor, and I don't see any. Well, I can't say I'm surprised to see him up there. I usually measure myself off of him. You know, we kind of run around the same spot. What I will say, what I see in these points are I see 12 guys that are currently, let's call it in, and I see 3 to 5 more somewhere behind them that also could be in. So it could still be some shuffles, guys coming in, guys going out. But other than the top, let's say 6 or 7, I don't know if anybody's safe. But even those guys at the top, you run into a couple bad weeks, you never know.
Yeah, it's only 34 points from first to 12th, and a 2 point margin back to the guy sitting in 13th, our usual host here, Justin McDuff. He sits 13th. John Ada is 14th, and JD Callahan rounding out the top 15. Some names down towards the bottom of the point standings is like Charlie Ryan, AJ Bunch, Dan Dubuque, and some of these guys that can definitely make it inside the top 12. But this season seems to be pretty tough.
Yeah, they got themselves a hole early, being unable to make races in combination with some bad luck. They're going to have to really pedal it over these last, what do we got, 8 more races to the chase cutoff?
Yeah, I got 8 more races remaining, as we noted earlier this evening in this show, that we are in a dark week. So we have a special URL hot laps that will be coming to you live from a undisclosed area. We'll find out on Saturday, so make sure that you guys stay tuned on Saturday on our Facebook page, and we will get that posted up on the website here at www.upstateracingleague.com. Is there anything anybody else would like to add, or as we go into a dark week, it's kind of a nice time to regroup and get some family time before we go into the next 3 races?
As far as that undisclosed location, will the production team be flying all of us in there?
Possibly. I mean, if I'm hoping that you get to show up, Mike, and we'll have a good time, and we'll be wearing our Upstate Racing shirts. If you guys out there listening haven't gotten your shirt yet, we have a few left, but they're definitely going quick. So make sure you get in on that and support the league as we move forward with this season.
Yeah, that ought to be interesting. Special guest. I won't give away who it is.
I'm pretty sure that it'll be a good time. It'll have a nice backdrop to it as we do a quick URL hot lap for next week, live from an undisclosed area. Mike, we hope you can make it, as you know where we will be, but we'll keep it a mystery for now. But we hope that you can make it.
I'm gonna try my best. I can't guarantee it, but I'm gonna try.
All right. Well, anyways, we're off for 1 week, and then, like I said, Saturday we'll do a special presentation, live presentation of the URL Hot Lap presented by Kingsport Tire and Auto Center. But that's going to wrap up tonight's show as the checkered flag has flown. For AJ Hamill and Mike Holtzclaw, I'm Al Smith, and we'll see you on the track.